Welcome to another Sunday Conversation. I'm Alan Masters. Today, I thought I would talk about the election because I think for a lot of us, it didn't happen the way we expected it to. I think all of us that are conservative thought it was going to be a landslide, and it wasn't. Although you might be saying, oh, yes, it was. Well, I know that there was a lot of people that voted for Trump and a lot of people that voted for Biden. But it really is not what we expected. And now, of course, we're watching all kinds of voter fraud and cheating. And we're watching our democracy become a mediaocracy. Because the media are really spoon feeding, like I said last week, right into our brains what they want us to think and believe. But I just want to talk for a minute about expectations and expecting. I think it's a slippery slope because in my lifetime, I have said many times, well, it's not what I expected. You're not what I expected. You didn't do what I expected you to do. And well, that's a bit of a prejudgment, is when you are playing God and you have these expectations, and then when they don't come out right, you're disappointed, and then you get angry and upset, and it's a backslide down the hill. So we have this election that didn't come out the way we expected it. So how many of you are angry? How many of you are just pissed off? How many of you are asking God, what happened? Well, what did happen? I think I've said it enough times that all it takes for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing. And I guess there weren't enough good men and women standing up and making it to where it was that big red wave. I think it was a bit of a red wave, and I think all of us were getting a little excited, and then all of a sudden Fox News called Arizona, and I started doing things that were upsetting, and then now we all look at Fox News like, what the living heck is going on? We thought you were conservative. We thought you were on our side. Well, they're the media. They're part of the mediocrity now, the mediaocracy instead of a democracy. And they don't like this man who is ruffling feathers. My dad has been one of those guys that was a ruffler of feathers. And I have, on the other hand, not been much of a guy to be like that. I've always thought to myself, you get more bees with honey. Well, I'm realizing now that if you don't stand up and speak up in a strong way, in a calm way, but a firm way, then you just won't be heard and you won't be counted because, well, they know they can push you over and you become a pushover. So I think that we will see as we go forward that this election is not over, and it will be weeks and weeks and possibly even months. But there's only so much time until we hit January, and then, wow, I don't know what's going to happen at that point. But I don't think that Trump is done by a long shot. I don't think he's done. And as a church, it's interesting to talk about what's going on in the political world. But if you look at what the conservative side stands for, it stands for life, liberty, and justice. And if you look at what the left stands for, it's confusing to me what it really does stand for. But as I see what happened in our state of Oregon recently, where they made heroin and narcotics of multiple types legal, and I think to myself, what is going on? What happened to the war on drugs? Drugs won the war. But I don't really know what the left stands for. And I guess I'm not supposed to understand that because it's crazy. And in order to understand crazy, you have to be a little bit crazy. So I just look at it and go, that ain't right. My common sense tells me that on the left, that ain't right. Not that every single thing they do is wrong, but the majority of all of what they stand for is not right. I look at the right side of the equation, the conservative side, and it stands for life. It stands for letting babies live versus killing babies. Okay, well, right there, that's enough for me. That's enough for me. So yes, that's a church discussion. That's enough for me. Now, do I love everything about this guy that's the president right now? No, I don't. But I do love how he's a fighter. I love how he stands up and he says what's on his mind, every single bit of it, sometimes too much. But I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing in this political world right now, because there is no end. There is no end to the evil that they will do. There is no end to the cheating. There's no end to the lying and the twisting. The swamp is deep and wide, and it's much worse than I think any of us thought. Our democracy is there's not much left of it. If we don't fight for what we believe, what will we have when they finally take over? If you look at our founding fathers, when they were pulling away from England and Britain, there was a war. There was a fight. Sure, they had discussions, but you know what? The British people in charge didn't want us Americans to have our freedoms. So there was a war. Well, we have a very similar situation going on right now. The left, the far left, it doesn't want us to have our freedoms. It wants to be a controlling communist country. And as we've said on our radio show, Patrick Kelly, our country attorney that's on Wednesdays, he said that it's chimerica. He says this is becoming chimerica. And I'm absolutely flabbergasted at what I'm seeing. And I'm mostly shocked that it's coming out of my mouth, because I've heard my father say this. You know, he's got all these books, this one in particular. This one, The Hypnotic States of Americans, he started talking about this. It was from 2011, it was published. It was like he needed to really double down and talk about how we are asleep at the wheel. Asleep at the wheel. And I've heard it all my life. And it's here. It's coming true. And people are saying, well, what does your father say? What does your dad say? My dad says, I've been telling you. What can he say? At 92 years old, what can he say right now? People are like, well, we need to hear from your dad. Well, it's time that we stand on our own 2 feet. I am responsible for me, and you are responsible for you. Each one of us are responsible for ourselves and our families. And no matter what anybody says, you got to follow what you know is right in your heart. God puts into your heart truth. And it's up to you to be able to accept it and say, you know what? I hear that truth. And God will also give you a knowing when you hear a lie and something says to you, the voice of God in your heart, that's a lie. That's not right. And therein lies the difference between the hive mentality and individuals that are seeking the truth, because after all, the truth will set you free. So yes, we've all had these expectations. We've all been let down by the expectations that we had that have now not happened. All of a sudden, this guy Biden could be president. And that is if Trump gives up. I hope he doesn't. My friend said, I'm going to fly the flag at half-mast until this changes. He says, because I'm in mourning for our country. And I feel the same way. I'm in mourning for our country right now. I'm shocked. I'm very much speechless, like many of you, at what the outcome that we've been watching now. The election was on Tuesday last week, and here we are, Sunday conversation. Still, there's not going to be answers for weeks and weeks to come, and I don't think that anybody's going to like the answers. I think the answers are going to come hard. They're going to come by hard-fought battles in the Supreme Court, in the courts of the land. And I hope that God intervenes, because after all, we are God's children, and this is God's land, and we know that he will win. But how much suffering has to happen? How much suffering do we have to endure in our lives? How much suffering do we have to witness? I think a lot of people are fearing the evil that's out there right now. So we're in the valley of the shadow of death right now. And most of us are truly afraid. Now, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid, because I know that I have always prepared, and I've listened to my inner voice, and it has spoken to me. God has spoken to me and basically guided me. But I watch the angst as we go through the valley of the shadow of death. We're there. I mean, think about it. How many abortions and how many millions of children are murdered every day, every year? If that's not the valley of death, people are dying from COVID and from everything under the sun, cancer and heart disease and diabetes and you name it. People are dying left and right, and then the COVID helps them along in that process. But I fear no evil, because I know that God will speak into my heart and I'll hear it. But I do have concern for many people that are so lost in their thoughts, so lost in the mediocrity, that they can't think for themselves. And they're locked into their lives like a piece of puzzle that can't get out. It's locked in. It's a piece of puzzle, but it's locked into the other pieces of puzzle, and it can't seem to shimmy its way out. And some people are locked into their lives. They don't want to leave because their marriage, their children, their family, their culture that is, where they live, and their church and all these things. And they don't want to lose all that. But I mean, at the end of the day, I look at my life right now and I'm kind of locked in. I like my life. I love my place. All my children are here. I love my kids. Well, not all of them, actually. One lives in Los Angeles. But if something in me says to me, you have to go west, young man, whatever, then I'm going to pick up and go, because I've got to listen to my intuitive nature, my intuition. And I have to tell you, I've often wondered about this. I thought, I'm not going to go. I love it here. Oregon is the place, until all of a sudden they're doing all kinds of horrible things with the laws and the people that are ruling the land here. And I look at this and I go, well, I'm not sure I want to live here anymore. I'm really not sure. But I'll wait until I hear the voice in my heart, because I really have a wonderful life. I have a wonderful life here. But I don't know if I'm supposed to stay, because it depends on what happens in these next days and weeks. And I remember I got a boat a long time ago, and I drove it up to the dock of the house, and my dad looks at it. He says, what do you got there? And I said, I traded a car for it and this and that. I was probably 18 years old. And my dad says, that you've got a bum deal. That was a bum deal. I remember thinking, I don't care what you say. And I, of course, will make a long story short, it turned out to be a bum deal. My dad has always been a visionary. So, I decided, you know what? It was a bum deal. Because at some point, you got to be able to be honest with yourself. So I named it, I actually wrote on the back of it, I called it The Bum Deal. Everybody thought it was funny. And I fixed it all up, and I was actually going to sink it. I was going to take it out in the ocean and sink it. I told my dad, I said, you know what, Dad, you were right. That was a bum deal. I'm going to take it out in the ocean, and I'm going to pull the plug and just let it go, because this thing is evil. I just want to get rid of it. He says, no. Now, he says, I appreciate the fact that you've admitted you got a bad deal and you made a bum deal. He says, but now make the best of it. Fix it up, clean it up, and some other dummy like you will buy it, and you know, but you'll fix it up, and it'll be nicer than it is now. And I thought to myself, all right. So I fixed it up, and I painted it up, got it all running good, called it the bum deal, and somebody came along and bought it. What do you think? And I ended up seeing the guy later on, and I said, how's the boat? He said, that boat almost killed me. I said, I know. That's why I called it the bum deal. But the reality is, at some point, you have to listen to your inner voice, and you have to be able to admit, you have to be able to say to yourself, you know what? This place is getting nutty. California, place is getting nutty. I have a lot of friends in California, and California is beautiful, but it's getting nutty, nuttier by the minute, bluer and nuttier by the minute. So a lot of my friends are moving, selling their stuff, selling their places, and then some of them come up here to Oregon. Well, Oregon's getting nuttier by the minute too, so I'm going to watch very carefully. But I will tell you, you cannot get too attached to things. You just can't, because you go down with your own ship, in essence. You got to know when to be able to get on the lifeboat and row it away. So I'm just keeping my ear to the ground, and I'm trying not to be disappointed. Back to where I started. You know, I had expectations. I told all my friends, I think I even told you, it's going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red wave. Nobody's going to believe it. This guy's going to win so big. And he didn't. And, of course, now they're trying to steal the election. They're trying to say, we won fair and square. It was an election. But my expectations, the interesting thing is, all right, well, maybe he's going to win. Maybe the other guy's going to win. Maybe the laws of the land are going to allow him to steal the election, if that's what we think. Maybe the laws of the land are going to just say, okay, Joe Biden won. What are we left with? Who are we left with? We're left with ourselves and our broken expectations. It's like when you put somebody on a pedestal. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. So the expectations now that are just shattered, do they leave you broken? Do you feel broken inside? Do you feel let down by God? That's a dangerous one. What I realize is that everything that happens in our lives, good, bad, and ugly, all happens with a purpose behind it for us. Each individual one of us. And only God knows what that purpose is. Someone loses a child. Someone loses a husband or wife, spouse. But I see it happening around me all the time, and I think, wow, that's such a heavy, hard lesson. Such a hard lesson. Such a hard thing to endure. But the same way that each one of those persons do endure their hardships. The sun does come up tomorrow. They do wake up and have a life after death, life after disaster. The world will still be here. Our expectations of what's going to happen tomorrow are what are going to mess us up. You can't live having expectations. You can kind of be hopeful of what can happen. You can make educated guesses, but when you have expectations and you apply those expectations to a person, place, or thing, and it doesn't work out right, who gets broken? We do. We do. The sun is going to come up tomorrow. I remember when I had a rough time in business it's been about 25 years ago. And I think that in the same way that I thought President Trump was going to win this election like a landslide, I had these expectations, and I kind of had this knowing it's going to happen, and he still may win. But it is definitely not the landslide that I and you may have been hoping for. But when I had this happen to me 25 years ago, I was a much younger guy. And I remember being so broken, so disappointed. God, how could you do this to me? I remember thinking, I'm one of yours. I'm one of your guys. What's up? This is not right. Oh, I'm so, it's like a lot of people feel this way. It got to the point where being awake was painful. Being awake was painful because the reality of my failures and my crashed and broken dreams of being successful were just so painful that I just wanted to sleep. Have you ever done that? I remember waking up going, oh, no. Put the pillow over my head. Go back to sleep. I got to go back to sleep. I wanted to just stay in that sleep state. The hypnotic states of Americans. Most of us, we live with a certain amount of pain from things that we've done in our lives, expectations that have been crashed and broken. People betrayed us. People have hurt us. It's so painful we don't even want to live sometimes. Just today, one of our ladies here went to a funeral for a little 15-year-old girl that hung herself. And it's just 15. I can tell you that a lot of people feel desperate right now to get the hell out of this world because the pain is just so heavy on them. They're so broken inside. But that is not the right way. That is not the solution. That is not the path. That is not the path. That's the path to hell. Read it. It's in this book. That ain't the right way. Now, we hear about repenting. We hear about being sorry. We hear about a lot of these, what is the way? How do you've done all these wrong things. And you have a trailer full of them. And there's so many that you can't even carry them on your back anymore. You have to carry them in a trailer with you through life. And, but it's because we don't face them and accept our part of them. I constantly am looking at what's my part? What did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? Where was my ego so big that I didn't hear that person talking to me? Where was my ego blocking the truth? My pride, my ambition. What was it in me that didn't hear what that person was trying to say? Have you ever been there? I have. I've been there a lot of times. And every single time I'm there, I go, what happened? What a stupid idiot. Not me, the other person. Well, maybe they were a stupid idiot, but it takes two to tango. It's a dance. It takes two stupid idiots. So I'm learning now to take a look at this stupid idiot. Because this stupid idiot is really the reason of all my problems. We are our own worst enemies. We are. We are the ones that listen to the little dark side, listen to the little voices in the head, the monkey brain, and we do stupid things. And then we don't want to admit to it. We don't want to cop to being the stupid idiot. So I look at my life and I say to myself, the way I think all of us have to do is, have I been a stupid idiot? Yeah. I've done some pretty stupid things. Have you? I think you have. I think you know you have. You probably shook your head. Because who hasn't? He who is without sin cast the first stone. That's what Jesus said. Well, of course, because we come here to do this dance. It takes two to tango. We come here to be born, to grow up, to trip and fall, to make mistakes, to love, to hate, to hurt, to forgive, to be forgiven, to ask for forgiveness, and to repent and return home. I think that's kind of the cycle of life. Or you can end it early, which many people do. But where do you go? So I'm just learning how to have humility. And I have to tell you, I prefer humility any day of the week over pride. I watch pride. Pride is ugly. Pride is so ugly. Humility is beautiful. Humility, even if the person is ugly to look at, when a person expresses humility, the ugliness disappears and you see the beauty of the soul. And you stop looking at the person and you see the spirit. The problem is we're so caught up with the personalities. These people on the left, they hate Trump so much because of his big personality and his big pride and his big, boisterous, arrogant ways. But see, I can look past that to his spirit and what he's trying to accomplish. He may not go about it correctly. He may not be doing perfect work, but he's doing God's perfect work. And so I look past the things I don't like about him, and I look at the work that he's doing that I love, which is saving babies' lives. Start there. Putting up some walls and some borders to keep unwanted people out of this country. I agree with that. Lowering taxes. I mean, if I just keep dissecting it, it's all the same things you probably like. But do we all like Donald Trump for everything that he is? No. God picks imperfect people to do God's perfect work. So, what I'm learning how to do now is I stop looking at people and seeing a person as a chess piece. I think in life, we go through life and it's like, if I move this here and I move that there, and you know the game of chess, you got to keep positioning yourself closer to the king or queen. And because you want their place, don't you? You want to take their place and win the game. Isn't that the end of the game? Is when you take the place of the king. But that is not really the end of the game. That's the end of that chess game. And but when you do become king, like let's just for a moment come back to Trump. Who is more kingly than that guy? Who is more kingly than that? I mean, that guy, everything he had was gold-plated and fancy cars and homes and hotels and resorts. And that guy won the game of chess. And then he got there and he's like, King Trump. And he kind of thought to himself, but I'm not happy. There's more to life than this winning this game. There's more to life than being King Trump. There's a king more important than me. And he said it. He said, you know, I may be the most popular around here. He says, but there's one more popular than me, Jesus Christ. And I was so happy when I heard him say that, because I know that to whom much is given, much is expected. And Trump knows that too. So I'm very happy, because to whom much is given, much is expected. And did he do it all perfectly? Nope. And is he going to have to continue fighting this battle? Yep. Did he start something for all of us? Heck yeah. We are all different. We are all more awake today because of Donald John Trump. He woke up Americans, the patriotic side of Americans. What does America stand for? life, liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. He woke us up to that. And he woke us up to the fact that it's being taken away from us. So if nothing else, even if he doesn't win in a couple of months after it's all said and done, and they've positioned and played the game of chess left and right and left and right and left and right, and Donald Trump doesn't win and be president, he has to step aside, and maybe he comes back around in 4 years and goes for it again. But America will be here. America is not this. America is a spirit. America is a gift from God inside of us, Americans. And we know what it is, and we will fight for it. And I think that's what's going to happen now. There's a rebirth of America. And we're not done fighting. Matter of fact, the fighting is just beginning. And really, it really comes down to something that is so rudimentary, which is we must return to our own innocence. We must learn how to not have these grandiose expectations of what we want to see in this world, and literally be responsible for our own selves and our own families. And that's the nucleus of it, the family. What does the left want to break up the most? What does communism and the whole evil empire of the hive mentality want to break up? The family. So you got to gather your family back around you. Love them properly. Set a good example. Be good men and women. Love each other and love your neighbor. And we have to start over at our beginnings from the family, the nucleus of everything in this world. And then we have to let it radiate out and find other people that are like-minded and have proper conversations with them. That's why we do this show, is to say, all right, what's wrong with this world? What's wrong with our country? What's wrong with me? I want to find out first what's wrong with me. Just like if I'm on an airplane, I got to put my oxygen mask on first, and then I can help the guy next to me. That's where we're at. Right now, the plane is going down. I got to fix this guy first, and then I can help people around me. And this whole thing with this COVID thing, and, it's not over yet either. But I know that if I live right, if I'm working every day to try and make my life better, and my wife's life better, and my children's life better, and my neighbor's life better, because I'm being an honest, honorable man with virtues and values, then that will ripple out into this world. And if we're all doing that, if you're doing that, because you're watching this right now going, yeah, I got to start with me. Michael Jackson even said it. Look at the man in the mirror. We are such weak vessels to the shiny things of this world. We really have to wake up. We've been walking in these hypnotic states as Americans, and we're about to lose America. So, I guess I'll just say that again. We have to start one at a time, individually. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. I'll never forget that. When the world was on my shoulders and all I wanted to do was sleep, I thought, I cannot climb this mountain of mistakes and stupidity that I've got on my shoulders, the weight of the world on my shoulders. And this one wise friend said to me, Alan, how do you eat an elephant? And I thought, it's impossible. I guess you start with the tail. Because, it's, your brain tries to figure out something. And he says to me, one bite at a time. So how do you deal with your problems? One at a time. And then just another one tomorrow. If you just resolved one a day, you'll get somewhere in life. And all of a sudden it gets easier and easier and easier and easier. And then the other thing is, of course, I think I was talking about it earlier about humility. Arrogance and pridefulness is just so ugly. It's so ugly. And I apologize if I've ever been arrogant and prideful to you. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be ugly. Not because I don't want to be ugly, but I don't want to be ugly like that. I want to have humility. I want to have gratitude for my life. God has blessed me in so many ways. I think to myself, if there's anybody in this world, and I mean many of you can say these same things, if there's anybody that should really be grateful, it's me. And then there's many people that are listening and watching saying, I haven't had a good life. Well, the same goes for you as goes for me. If you have problems, you look at those problems just like they're that elephant, and how do you eat that elephant? One bite at a time. And you know what? You will eventually be out of your problems. But we get so focused on a negative life because sure, I could be negative. I could be plenty negative. My president didn't win yet. But I could throw 100 reasons in front of you why I could be negative. Everybody has them. I just said, well, if there's anybody, it should be me. Happy it should be me. But I have problems. I have tons of problems. But they don't have me. I look at these things that happen to me and I say to myself, well, what am I supposed to learn from this? If you just start out with your problems, whatever it may be, president not winning, what am I supposed to learn from this? Just a tiny little moment of reflection. Maybe it's nothing right now. But having the positive attitude of being open-minded enough to say, what am I supposed to learn from this? And am I angry? What are the emotions how is the dinner table being set? Anger, resentment, judgment, lust, frustration, all the plates are out in front of you. Which one will you choose? Or can you just stay centered and look at all these things that can cause anger, frustration, angst, anxiety that are going to kill you? They're dishes of poison is what they are. And say, no thanks. Nope. Not gonna. It's a funny thing I say to my wife. She says, well, what do you want? Why don't we do this? And will you mind, could you do that or could you do this? And I'm like, no, not gonna. It's just a personal thing, but I think it's funny. It's how I get through life sometimes. Actually, that's a George Bush thing. Not gonna. I don't know if you remember that, but it was kind of funny. Anyway, I just don't take the hook. If I was a fish, I'd probably starve because every time the hook came down with a worm on it, I'd go, not gonna be tempted, not gonna eat that dish of poison or that worm with a hook in it because they've all got a hook. So as you watch your anxiety, as you go home and you watch the news, or you're at home and you watch the news, or you watch whatever source of news you get your information from, little hooks are coming at you from every direction. Things to make you angry, and they want to pull out of you the hook. You swallow the hook and it pulls out anger. Swallow the hook and it pulls out hate, pulls out fear, pulls out all kinds of horrible things that are existing inside of you. But if you don't swallow the hook and you just go, I'm just going to watch, nothing gets pulled out. So I'm just an observer. I'm being very observant of what's going on in this world and my friends and how people are reacting. And I just keep shaking my head going, I don't know. I don't know, Lord. I don't know. Show me the way. Show me what to do. Of myself, I can do nothing. And I wait patiently for the answers. I wait patiently for the answers. The sun will come up tomorrow. And each day, you'll have opportunities to get angry and to overcome that anger by not swallowing the poison. And you'll have choices to make. Many, many choices. People will say things to you that are going to make you want to say something right back at you, buddy, type thing. And that's when you have to learn how to be calm. I think that's really the answer to the whole thing. My dad has been saying that to me my whole life. Just stay calm. And it's funny because in that calmness comes the answers. They're not going to come if you get caught up in the hysteria of what's going on. They're not going to come if you get caught up in the moment. Just stay calm. You can laugh. You can be, brought to tears by something that's sad, but you don't have to indulge in it. I'm just learning how to just kind of stay very centered. If I have a rudder, my rudder is my knowledge that God has got my back and that he will show me the way to push the rudder to the left or to the right, and it'll steer me through life. And I think that helps me with my calm, because God knows what's going on. God knows what's coming next. God knows what's going to happen in the end. We don't. You don't. She don't. He don't. They don't. So remain calm. I suggest that if you haven't learned how to meditate, so many of you that watch this have, if you haven't meditated in a while, come on back, because the meditation exercise is what will help you get centered. Life has a lot of different pressures, and it pushes you from every side sometimes, and we forget. We have bad memories. We forget. It's like, what did I used to do? Oh my gosh, I haven't meditated in a month or 6 months or a year. It's easy to do. And even if you don't have time to do it with the exercise in your ears, just find a quiet place, sit still, close your eyes, and just listen. Be still and know. Because really, at the end of the day, that is the answer. All right. I would say that we're in some perilous times, and to whom much is given, much is expected. And I believe that most of you that are listening are on a journey like I am. All of us are on a journey one way or another, either a journey to hell or a journey to heaven. The choice is yours. But your donations are very important. We thank you. We thank you for supporting the Foundation of Human Understanding. My mom and dad are doing well. They send their hellos. And I was with my dad the other day, took him in to get a little skin cancer thing, because he always used to sit with his shirt off. And it was just so dang cute. They cut it off and they put a little Band-Aid on. He says, "That's it? You're all done?" And she says, "I'm all done." He says, "Oh, well, how nice. I love you." It was just really cute. He's at the cutest stage of his whole life. That's all I can say. He's 92. And my mom is just, she's a hoot. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Just remain calm. I don't think the president is done. I don't think he's done. I think he's Teflon Don. He's got some stuff up his sleeve. And if you get angry and upset, it's just unbecoming. Catch yourself. Don't be ugly. Don't be upset. Don't be arrogant. Don't be angry. Find some peace inside. God bless. See you next time.